Since childhood, you were told to be nice, to obey, to never be dangerous. But the world is not ruled by kindness, it is ruled by predators who smile like friends but strike like serpents. And while the obedient dog wags its tail, exposing its fears and desires, the wolf waits in silence. History does not remember the harmless, it remembers those who were feared. This is not about being loved. This is about becoming untouchable, the death of the dog and the birth of the wolf. Part 1, the illusion of safety. They call it loyalty. They call it virtue. But in truth, it is the first and most subtle form of death, the death of personal command. A man who lives only to obey will not survive in a world ruled by wolves and lions. Look around you. The court, the marketplace, the street, all are filled with predators cloaked in silk, smiling with the grace of serpents. These predators do not bark, they do not beg, and they never announce their presence. They wait, they calculate, they strike when the moment is right. The dog, however, cannot hide. Desperate to be seen, desperate to be accepted, it reveals everything in the wag of its tail. Its fears, its hopes, its desires, all written plainly for the cunning to exploit. And this is the tragedy. The dog believes that by being kind it will be spared, by being obedient it will be protected, by being harmless it will be loved forever. But love fades, circumstances shift, masters grow bored, and when danger arises no one shelters the dog. When conflict comes, the dog is always the first to be sacrificed or left to fend for itself. Its teeth have been dulled by years of domestic. It cannot hunt, cannot fight, cannot survive without affection. What was once loyalty has now become weakness. The dog has been trained to warn, but never to strike. It barks loudly, but it lacks both courage and cunning, and so it is never feared. And here lies the brutal truth. To be unfearful is to be powerless. For power does not live in how much one is loved, but in how dangerous one is perceived to be. The man with the heart of a dog may win sympathy, but sympathy does not build empires. Sympathy does not secure victory. Sympathy does not keep the knife from your throat. This worship of the dog's traits, obedience, loyalty, gentleness, is not truth. It is control. The powerful do not live like dogs. They only teach others to. They smile as the dog defends their gates, fights their wars, and serves their ambition, all while believing it is fulfilling some noble destiny. But nobility without autonomy is nothing more than servitude dressed in gold. Part 2, the price of obedience. Our obedience is never rewarded. It is expected. That is the cruel secret no one dares to say out. A servant who forgets his place is not corrected. He is removed. And so the very traits that once made the dog useful now ensure its destruction. Look closely at society, and you will see how quickly it turns on the obedient. The dog that bites once, even in defense, is labeled dangerous. The dog that hesitates to obey is abandoned. The dog that dares to question its master is put down. The lesson is clear. Obedience is not valued, it is demanded. And once it disappears, the illusion of worth vanishes with it. The obedient man thinks his loyalty will protect him. He believes that by lowering his head, by softening his voice, by swallowing his instincts, he will be spared. But the truth is brutal. He has traded his claws for comfort, and in doing so, has lost both. He is admired not for strength, but for weakness disguised as virtue. His loyalty is paraded as if it were nobility, when in reality it is servitude. His obedience mistaken for moral strength, when in truth it is paralysis. Strip away the sentimental words, and what remain? A man trained to need approval, a man who lowers himself at the first sign of disapproval, a man who trades his instincts for a pat on the head. Like the dog, he was not born to serve, but he was broken until he believed he must, and so his entire life becomes ruled by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of being seen as dangerous. He apologizes before he is accused. He seeks permission before he speaks. He does not move unless given a signal. He does not act unless granted approval. He has mistaken survival for surrender. But survival does not come from obedience. Survival comes from danger, from the ability to stand alone, from the courage to resist. The man with the heart of a dog cannot command respect. He cannot lead. He cannot endure solitude. His entire worth hangs on the words and moods of others. A single word of approval uplifts him, and a raised eyebrow destroys him. He thrives on praise but wilts under criticism. Look at him closely, and you will see his leash. He calls it morality. He calls it kindness. But it is not morality, but it is fear. It is not kindness, it is weakness. The leash is invisible, but it pulls tight with every nod of approval, every smile of validation. And the moment it slips away, the man panics, lost, directionless. He cannot act on his own because he has never been taught to, and this is why the obedient are discarded first. They cannot defend the gate. They cannot protect themselves. They cannot adapt to crisis. They are predictable, controllable, expendable. The very traits that made them useful make them replaceable. History is filled with men like this. Loyal soldiers forgotten when the war ends. Faithful servants abandoned when their master dies. Followers who gave everything only to be discarded once they had nothing left to give. They died believing they were noble, when in truth they were only convenient. This is the reality no one wants to face. Loyalty without leverage is slavery. Obedience without power is suicide. And niceness, the most celebrated illusion of all, is not strength, it is weakness disguised for the comfort of others. The man who clings to obedience as protection will one day wake up to find that he is powerless, that he has lived on a leash of public opinion, fed scraps of approval, while his true strength rotted away inside him. And by the time he realizes it, it will be too late. Part 3, The Rise of the Wolf. The dog lives for permission. The wolf lives for freedom. The dog lowers its head, waiting for the master's call. The wolf raises its eyes to the horizon, guided by nothing but instinct and will. And this is the difference that decides who rules and who obeys. The wolf is not loved the way the dog is. The wolf is not welcomed into every home. It is not showered with praise for obedience. Instead, it is feared, it is respected, it is left alone. And yet, which life is truer? Which life is stronger? The wolf's solitude is not weakness. It is proof that it cannot be caged. Where the dog reveals its feelings in every wag of the tail, the wolf conceals. Where the dog exposes its fears in every bark, the wolf observes in silence. The wolf understands that in a world filled with predators, exposure is death. Power belongs not to the loudest, but to the most controlled. The wolf does not beg. It does not ask. It does not need validation to act. Its power comes from within, from an untamed fire that bows to no one. When hungry, it hunts. When threatened, it fights. And when left alone, it does not wither, it thrives. Society celebrates the dog because it is easy to control. They call its obedience virtue, its weakness morality, its submission love. But deep inside, even the masters know the dog is nothing without them. The wolf, however, needs no one. And that is what makes it dangerous. The wolf embodies self-reliance. It carries its own authority. It does not live for applause. It does not crumble under disapproval. Its strength is not borrowed. It is inherent. Even in silence, even in solitude, it commands presence. That is why the wolf is feared. And that is why fear protects it better than love ever could. Understand this. In every man, there is both a dog and a wolf. The dog is the conditioned self, trained by society, rewarded for obedience, punished for defiance. The wolf is the primal self, untamed, independent, powerful. Most men kill the wolf inside them while they are still young. They bury it under rules, under fear, under the desperate need to belong. They live their entire lives as dogs, never realizing they carried the heart of a wolf. But some refuse. Some remember. Some awaken when the dog dies within, the wolf begins to rise. It is a rebirth, violent and liberating. The leash snaps, the begging stops, the fear dissolves. For the first time, the man sees the world as it is, not as it was taught to him. He no longer asks, will they love me? Will they accept me? Instead, he asks only one question: will they dare to cross me? This is the moment society begins to fear you, the day you no longer need approval, the day you are willing to walk alone, the day you realize that being dangerous is not evil, it is necessary. The world does not respect the harmless. It does not honor the obedient. It only remembers the ones who could not be controlled. And so, the path becomes clear. To survive, you must shed the skin of the dog. You must embrace the solitude of the wolf. You must become untouchable, for only the wolf rules the forest. Only the wolf is beyond the leash. Only the wolf walks alone, and is still feared by all. Part 4. The Wolf's Code. The wolf does not chase approval. The wolf chases purpose. That is the first rule. Most people waste their lives trying to be liked. They bend their words, soften their edges, bury their truth just to avoid conflict. They think harmony brings safety. But harmony is fragile. One shift in the wind and it shatters. The wolf understands this. It does not speak to be liked. It speaks to be clear, to be respected, to be remembered. The wolf never explains itself to the herd. It knows that explanation is weakness. The more you defend yourself, the more you reveal your fears. The wolf understands mystery is power. When others cannot predict you, they cannot control you. So it stays silent when questioned. It chooses its words with precision. It allows others to wonder. And in that silence, its authority grows. The wolf does not react to every insult, every provocation. Dogs bark at every shadow. Wolves wait. They measure. They strike only when it matters. This patience makes the wolf terrifying because when it moves, it does not miss. Power is not in noise, it is in timing. The wolf also understands territory. It knows what belongs to it, and it guards it without hesitation. In life, territory is not just land. Territory is your respect, your boundaries, your identity. The wolf never negotiates these. A man who allows others to cross his boundaries without consequence is not kind. He is weak. The wolf shows once decisively that the line will never be crossed again. But perhaps the greatest strength of the wolf is its independence. The dog withers without its master. The wolf thrives even in solitude. It does not fear being alone because it does not need constant validation to survive. This is the mark of true power, to walk alone and still walk with certainty. The world sees this and trembles because independence is ungovernable, and yet the wolf is not reckless. It does not waste energy on meaningless battles. It does not fight to prove itself to everyone. It fights only when necessary, only when survival or dominance requires it. This is discipline, controlled aggression. To be dangerous but restrained, to have claws sharp enough to destroy, yet hidden until the perfect moment. The wolf's code is simple. Do not beg. Do not explain. Do not expose weakness. Do not fear solitude. And when the time comes, strike without hesitation. This is how power is built, not through noise, not through obedience, but through control, mystery, patience, and precision. The world may celebrate the obedient dog, but deep inside, it fears the silent wolf. And fear, not love, is the true shield. Fear keeps predators away. Fear keeps respect alive. Fear ensures survival long after loyalty has been forgotten. And so the choice stands before every man. Live begging for love like a dog, or live untouchable like a wolf. One dies on a leash. The other walks free, feared by all, controlled by none. Part 5. The death of the dog, the birth of the untouchable. Every man begins as a dog, trained to obey, conditioned to seek love, molded to fear disapproval. It is not his fault. It is the way of society, the leash placed on his neck from childhood. He is told to smile, to bow, to obey, to never question. He is rewarded when he conforms, punished when he resists. And so he grows into a loyal servant, praised but powerless. But there comes a moment when the illusion lags. The master stops calling. The praise dries up. The protection vanishes. And suddenly the dog realizes he was never loved, or he was used. Loyalty was never about honor. It was about control. Niceness was never about morality. It was about obedience. In that moment, the dog sees the truth. Love fades, approval shifts, but power endures. This is the moment of death. the death of the dog. The death of weakness, of neediness, of obedience. It is not gentle, it is violent. It feels like betrayal, but it is liberation. The leash breaks, the begging stops. The tail no longer wags. The man who once lived on scraps of validation now turns inward, discovering the fire that was always there. The wolf awakens. The wolf does not live for love. It does not live for acceptance.
It does not live for prey.
It lives for freedom,
For power.
for the raw authority of being untouchable. The wolf walks alone, and yet it is never lonely because it does not need the herd to survive. It does not cry for protection because it has become its own shield. This transformation is terrifying to others. Friends fall away because they cannot control you.
Enemies retreat because they cannot predict you.
Even allies keep their distance because they respect you too much to come too close. You become a figure set apart, not because you chased isolation, but because power creates its own space. The wolf does not need to roar to command fear. Its silence is enough. And here lies the great paradox. The man who once begged for love now receives a deeper form of respect. The man who once feared rejection now commands recognition. The man who once lived on a leash now walks free, untouchable. For the world cannot chain a wolf. It cannot bribe it with love. It cannot bind it with guilt. It cannot tame it with approval. The final lesson is this: to live as a dog is to die unnoticed. To live as a wolf is to die remembered. The dog's loyalty is forgotten when convenient. The wolf's presence is feared long after it is gone.
And in the end, history does not honor the obedient.
It honors the untouchable, so kill the dog within you.
Kill the need to please.
Kill the hunger for approval. In its place, let the wolf rise.
A wolf that walks alone. A wolf that cannot be
A wolf that is feared, respected, and untouchable. Because in the world of wolves and lions, survival does not belong to the kind.
It belongs to the dangerous.
Closing. In the end, the choice is simple. You can live as the dog, loyal, harmless, forgettable. Or you can rise as the wolf, silent, feared, untouchable.
Of phase.
Approval shifts, but power remains. The leash was never safety. It was a prison.
Break it, walk alone.
Embrace the solitude, embrace the danger, embrace the wolf. For only the wolf walks free.
And only the wolf is remembered.